Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to tackle something kind of relatable? Maybe even a little embarrassing.
Embarrassing, maybe.
Yeah, you know that feeling when
Yo, yeah.
your English gets a little
rusty.
rusty after you haven't used it for a while.
It happens.
We're diving deep today into ways to get back on track with your speaking.
And we've got a guide chock full of
nice.
tips and tricks.
So if you've been avoiding speaking English because you feel a little rusty, stick with us.
Well, it's interesting because brains actually handle language like a muscle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if you don't use it,
Right.
you lose it. But the good news is you can totally build that muscle back up.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin? Like, what's step one to get back to speaking comfortably?
This guide suggests starting with listening.
Okay.
It's like a warm-up for your ears and your brain,
I get it. Like getting used to the sounds.
Exactly, without the pressure of having to speak right away.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So what are the best things to listen to?
Well, the guide mentions podcasts,
Classic.
audiobooks, even just watching TV shows or movies with the English subtitles on.
Oh, so I can finally justify my Netflix binging.
There you go.
Seriously, though, I tried learning Spanish once by watching documentaries.
Oh, no.
It was so boring, I gave up.
That's the thing. You got to make it fun.
Exactly. Like pick a podcast about something you actually enjoy.
You got it.
So you're saying watching my favorite show in English is good for me.
Absolutely.
I knew there was a reason I loved that show.
Okay, so we've warmed up our listening muscles.
Right.
Time to actually speak.
Exactly. The guide emphasizes even short bursts of speaking practice.
Short bursts. Okay.
Each day can make a huge difference.
Okay, that seems manageable. But what if I'm feeling a little shy?
I get it.
Any tips for easing back into it?
Well, one suggestion is to just talk to yourself.
Really?
Yeah. Describe your day, practice conversations you might have, or just, think out loud in English.
Haha. My cat already thinks I'm crazy.
But think about it. It gets you comfortable forming sentences. That's true. No judgment from the cat.
And if you want to chat with someone, you could try a language exchange app.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those. You get to help someone learn your language.
And they help you with English.
Cool. A win-win. The guide also mentioned recording yourself speaking, right?
It did. It's a good way to pinpoint areas you might want to work on.
Makes sense. You can hear yourself from a different perspective.
Like watching a replay of yourself playing sports.
Right. You can see what needs work.
Exactly. And you can do it in private, so less pressure.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so listening, speaking, what about vocabulary?
Yes, the dreaded tip of the tongue moments.
The worst. Like trying to remember an actor's name.
Happens to everyone.
So how do we rebuild that vocabulary muscle?
Well, this guide has some cool ideas.
Yeah.
Flashcards have helped a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. I use those in school.
They're still effective, and there are apps like Anki or Quizlet.
Yeah.
They use something called spaced repetition. It's basically showing you words right when you're about to forget them.
So it's like a personal trainer for your vocabulary.
Pretty much.
Love it. What else?
Another tip, create themed word lists.
Themed. Okay.
Think about situations where you use English often.
Like ordering food at a restaurant.
Exactly, or work conversations, or just making small talk.
So I'm basically building my own little dictionary for different situations.
Precisely. And once you have your list,
Yeah.
try to use those words in your daily conversation.
Even with myself.
Even with yourself.
Got it. Practice makes perfect, or at least progress, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got listening, speaking, vocabulary down. What about pronunciation and accent? Those can be tricky,
Sure.
especially after a break from speaking.
The guide suggests some fun ways to practice.
Ooh, fun. Tell me more.
One is called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay.
You listen to a native speaker from a
Okay.
podcast or video and try to imitate how they sound.
So like I'm their voice double trying to match their every sound.
That's the idea.
I like it as a challenge, but a fun one.
What else?
Remember tongue twisters? Oh, yeah, those are classics. She sells seashells by the seashore.
They're great for warming up those mouth muscles.
Makes sense. And honestly, having fun with it makes it less scary.
Exactly. And if you struggle with specific sounds, the guide suggests targeted phonetic practice.
Phonetic, okay.
It breaks down the sounds into smaller parts so you can really focus.
Kind of like dissecting each sound to understand how to make it.
That's a great way to put it.
Cool. So we've covered listening, speaking, vocabulary, pronunciation.
We've got the tools.
What's next on our fluency journey?
Now we need to talk about confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah, it's like having all the ingredients for a cake, but forgetting to turn on the oven.
I've been there. But yeah, I think a lot of people get discouraged because they remember being more fluent.
Right.
And they feel like they should just snap their fingers and be back at that level.
It's a common feeling, but the guide emphasizes that comparing yourself to your past fluency
Okay.
is like comparing apples to oranges. You're not the same person you were back then, and that's okay.
It's true, we're always learning and changing. But how do we get over that feeling of being stuck in the past?
The guide suggests shifting your focus from perfection to progress.
So instead of trying to be perfect right away,
Yeah, celebrate those small wins along the way.
I like that.
Yeah.
So like if I order coffee in English without messing up,
High five.
exactly, or if I understand a whole podcast episode,
You're on a roll.
I can get behind that. It's so easy to focus on what we're not doing yet.
It is, but acknowledging those small steps is so motivating.
For sure. So the guide also talks about setting realistic goals, right?
It does. It warns against those huge, overwhelming targets.
Like I'm going to be fluent in a month.
Yeah, that's setting yourself up for disappointment.
So what kind of goals should we be setting then?
Start small. For example, aim for a 5-minute conversation in English each day,
Okay.
or learn 5 new words a week. Keep it manageable and fun.
It's like building a house one brick at a time.
Exactly. You don't try to build the whole thing in a day.
So once we're comfortable with those basics, how do we level up?
The guide suggests joining an online discussion group about something you're passionate about.
Ooh, I like that idea. I could talk about books or even learning English.
Exactly. There are so many options.
And if I'm ready for more interaction?
You could find a language partner for regular conversations.
Oh, like a pen pal, but with talking.
Exactly. You can find partners online or through apps.
Cool. And each time I push myself a little.
You're building that confidence and fluency.
This whole idea of embracing the journey and celebrating small wins
Right.
really makes a difference.
It takes the pressure off and lets you enjoy rediscovering your fluency.
And what about those times when we hit a wall?
Everyone hits roadblocks.
Yeah, what if I feel stuck or frustrated?
Those feelings are totally normal.
Okay, good to know.
The guide reminds us it's okay to take breaks.
Breaks.
Yeah, sometimes stepping back can help you come back feeling refreshed.
So it's not about pushing through no matter what.
No, it's about finding a sustainable rhythm.
Like with exercise, you don't want to overtrain.
Exactly. Listen to your body and your mind.
Makes sense.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
For me, sometimes when I feel stuck, I change things up a bit.
Like what?
Instead of grammar drills, I'll watch a funny movie in English or listen to music.
That's a great idea. Sometimes you need variety to make it fun.
Exactly. And the guide also suggests connecting with other language learners.
It does. Online or in person.
That's like having a support group.
Yeah, you can share experiences, challenges, successes.
And it's motivating to know you're not alone.
Exactly.
Reminds me of when I was learning to code. Joining an online community made a huge difference.
Community can be so powerful in learning.
For sure. And speaking of challenges, we can't forget about mistakes.
Right.
They're a part of the process.
Absolutely. The guide encourages us to see mistakes as feedback, not failures.
I like that. So like a coach pointing out areas for improvement.
Exactly.
So over time, as we practice, those mistakes happen less often.
And fluency naturally improves.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You might fall at first.
But you get better with each try.
Exactly. And eventually become second nature.
Regaining fluency takes time, practice, and patience.
But it's so worth it.
It opens up so many doors, connecting with people pursuing opportunities.
So true. It's like those moments when you're trying to learn something new and you just hit a wall.
Yeah, it can be frustrating.
Totally. It reminds me of when I was trying to get back into running after an injury. Some days were great and others I just wanted to give up. How do we deal with that kind of frustration when it comes to language learning?
It's so important to acknowledge those feelings. The guide actually reminds us that it's okay to take breaks.
Breaks.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to step back for a bit.
So it's not about forcing yourself to power through every single day.
Exactly. It's more about finding a rhythm that works for you long term.
Like with working out. You don't want to overdo it and burn yourself out.
Exactly. Listen to what your body and mind need.
I know for me, when I feel stuck sometimes, changing things up helps.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Instead of drilling grammar rules, I might watch a funny movie in English or listen to some music just to keep things fresh.
That's a great idea. Variety can definitely help. The guide also talks about connecting with other language learners.
Oh, yeah.
Either online or in person.
That makes sense. It's like having a support system.
Exactly. You can share your struggles and successes and encourage each other.
And you realize you're not alone in those moments of frustration.
Exactly. Everyone's going through it.
It reminds me of when I was learning to code and I joined this online community. It was a game changer.
That sense of community can be so powerful. It helps you stay motivated and accountable.
Totally. And speaking of challenges, we can't forget about those inevitable mistakes.
Ah, yes, the learning curve.
Right. It's all part of the process.
The guide actually encourages us to see mistakes as feedback, not failures.
Oh, I like that. It's like they're showing us where we need to practice more.
Exactly. They help us pinpoint those areas for improvement.
So instead of getting discouraged by them, we can use them to our advantage.
Absolutely. And over time, as we learn from those mistakes, our fluency naturally improves.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You fall a few times, but eventually...
Yeah, you get the hang of it.
Exactly, and it becomes second nature.
Regaining fluency takes time, practice, and patience, but it's such a rewarding journey.
It really is. It opens up so many possibilities for connecting with people, exploring new cultures.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. Remember that the ultimate goal of language learning is to connect with others, share ideas, and experience the world in a more meaningful way.
That's beautifully said. It's not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about using language to build bridges and express ourselves.
Exactly. So embrace the journey, celebrate your progress, and never stop exploring the wonderful world of English.
Love that. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into regaining English fluency.
Keep practicing and keep those conversations flowing.
And remember, you've got this. Until next time.